You are live, my friend.
Welcome to WagerTalk Today, the gold standard of sports betting shows where we talk the talk and walk the walk. It's Wednesday. We're going to hit all the major sports here. Ralph Michaels is going to join us for college basketball. We're going to talk South Dakota and Creighton, and also a surprise impromptu college basketball game where he's going to break down that we just discovered right before we went live here. We're going to talk Ohio State, Purdue, college football. That game's actually 10 minutes away from where I live. I may go watch that one. NFL Week 10 trends and angles. Ross is going to break down Spurs and Lakers, Syracuse and Miami, Florida, and another segment of This Line Makes No Sense. Midweek means momentum. That's what we're building today. Let's go with someone asked if we could do a little Steam report. So yeah, absolutely. We can do a little mini Steam report. We can show you where the money's coming in. We'll start in the NBA. We have a little bit of money coming in on Cleveland. That started at 9.5. That's up to 10. There's 10.5s out there as well. Cleveland at home against Philadelphia. A little bit of money's coming on Detroit. That's up to 9.5. There's a 10 that's popping up at Pinnacle. Money is coming in on Boston -11, fading the Wizards. Makes sense. New York, I'm going to break down this Timberwolves and Knicks game. This line is moving based on news coming out about Anthony Edwards. He's been upgraded to questionable, and he was in practice yesterday. So Knicks opened -5, -3s are popping up. That tells us that Anthony Edwards is probably playing today. And we got money coming in on Denver. -8 was the opening line. That is up to -9.5. And then when we go to college basketball, I was joking that a lot of money has come in on Georgia. They opened to -29.5. That is now up to -34 against Maryland East Shore. And Ralph says, oh, that's like one of my free plays. And then he proceeds to tell me some tidbits about Maryland East Shore. So I don't see any real steam coming in on the football games tonight. I don't really see anything on the Thursday night game. So let's just bring in Ralph. All right, Ralph. I said Georgia and Maryland East Shore, and you said, oh, yeah, I got information on that one. All right, give it to us. You clearly moved the line. This is a 5-point line move. We got Georgia. We got Maryland East Shore. What do you know about this game?
Well, you look at that game, and I laid it. I released it as a free play today, Andy, at 29.5. And you said that is up to what now? 34.5?
34.5 popping up.
So at that, I'm going to put a note in my free play. I would not play it with a 5-point line move. But again, I don't know the line's moving when I post that play in the morning. But you look at Georgia, they're off a win against Bellarmine where they won 104-59. But I was actually impressed with Maryland Eastern Shore, at least when you looked at the score. They were a 28.5 or 29-point favorite at Georgia Tech. They led that game with 5 minutes to go, and they lost by 4 in overtime. But it was a situation where Georgia Tech played poorly, and the Hawks did not play well. Georgia Tech, 9 of 18 from free throws. They were 5 of 26 from three-pointers. So Maryland Eastern Shore, yes, they covered by 24.5 points, and yes, they're staying in the state of Georgia and just have to play a couple miles down the road. But I look at this Georgia team, and they are a team that's very fast tempo. Last year, they were quick tempo with Mike White. This season, they're number 2 as far as possessions. Again, we only played one game, so I understand it's early. But game number 2 teams, college basketball teams in game number 2, off a home win by 21 points, are 61% against the spread since 2000 and 63% as a double-digit favorite. Georgia played 13 players yesterday ago, and no one played more than 24 minutes. Now they face a team that played an overtime game. Georgia last year 13-6 against the spread at home and 9-2 as a home favorite of -4 or more. Only 7 teams have been a double-digit favorite in game 1 and went into overtime. Those teams are 1-6 against the spread and 0-3 failing to cover as a dog of 5 or more. I thought some people might bet Maryland Eastern Shore early. Not the case. I think the line move is completely right. Georgia blows them out. Again, 10 players are going to play. We're going to have 6 or 7 players in double digits for Georgia. They pull away and win that game late.
I love it. I love it. I was not prepared for a Maryland East Shore breakdown, but that is why Ralph is the absolute best. SF Niner wants to know where the pen is. Ralph, where's the pen? You showed it earlier. Let's see it. There it is. When the pen is out, it's time to make some money. All right, let's break down another game. Let's talk South Dakota and Creighton college basketball. Here we go. Another big favorite. Creighton minus 29.5. Over under 168.5. How do you break this game down?
Well, we have a unique dynamic, Andy. We have a South Dakota team that's already played a game against a Creighton team that's playing their first game of the season. And when a team like South Dakota has a game under their belt and now they're a dog of 6 or more, they've gone 39 and 22, 64%. Not a huge sample size, but if they're off a loss, like the Coyotes are, those teams have gone 25 and 7, 78% against the spread since 2018, and only 4 have lost at home. They've gone 4 and 0 against the spread. Those numbers also apply to Tarleton tonight against LSU. South Dakota under Eric Peterson in his 4th season. They sped up tempo year 2. Last year in year 3, South Dakota was number 2 in tempo in the country. They're not for one game this year. I look at South Dakota. They went 19 and 14. They had a winning record in the Summit Conference. They returned 6 of 13 players. That doesn't sound like much, but in a mid-major like them that had a winning record, that is actually a very positive spot. You look at Creighton. Losing players is one thing. Losing a Big East Defensive Player of the Year in Ryan Kalkburn, who's also playing now for the Hornets in the NBA, is a bigger loss. They also lost Ashworth and Neal. They have a lot to recover from. Creighton last year started 0-3 against the spread, and they were only 2-7 against the spread their first 9 games. Creighton last year, 0-3 against the spread as a favorite of 21 or more. And let's remember, this is only their first game. This game does not do anything for them. Yes, they're going to win the game, but will they really look to cover when their next game is playing Gonzaga on the road? I don't think so. I think they bring in some more depth. They empty their bench again. South Dakota keeps firing up threes, keeps the game within the number. I like South Dakota. This was actually on my list to be a client release today in college basketball. I am conservative to start the year. I did only load 4% in college hoops. It is my first 4% best bet winner, and college hoops 2-0 the first 2 nights in basketball.
Nice start to the season, Ralph. And yeah, those big numbers early, man. That's tough for a team to cover that huge number when you're first getting started off in the season. So we're gonna move to college football. This Ohio State Purdue game that's right up the road from where I live. I've got a strong opinion on this game. I'm interested what your take is. We got minus 29. Why we keep giving you the minus 29s and the minus 29s and a half today? That's 3 of them we've talked about across 2 sports. You got an over under of 48. Obviously, this Ohio State team is way better than Purdue, but can they cover this? How do you break this game down?
Yeah, they're going to cover this. There's no way in hell I'm betting against Ohio State. And I don't think I've ever said that for a college football team early in November. You want to talk about an awesome defense. Yes, they gave up 14 points to Penn State in the first half, but one was a fluke and one was a big play, and then they got situated. What happened? They shut them out the rest of the game. They are number 1 in college football in defense, holding opponents to 162 yards per game under their average. They have held 6 opponents to a season low. Well, let's see. Purdue season low, 276 yards. They're going to hold them under that. The offense has had a season best 5 out of 6 times. We know Julian Sayin has been remarkable, a 23-3 ratio, looking to become the first ever starter quarterback that qualifies with over 80% completions. The rush attack got underway against Penn State, over 5.0 yards per carry. The defense, 6, 4, 4, 3, and 4 sacks the last couple of weeks. That's without blitzing. Purdue tried to run the ball the last few weeks. They had about 400 yards rushing and about 5.0 yards per carry. But this Buckeyes rush defense, allowing 82 yards per carry and 2.6 points. Couple TNA stats. Purdue is off their 7th loss. If you watch my TNA Bet On It videos, you know that teams are deflated after losing a 7th game because they're no longer bowl eligible. So when a team is a home dog of 8 or more, off a loss, which was their 7th loss of the season, they've only gone 36 and 53, 40%. Laying 28.5 or more is a big deal, but AP top 4 teams from game 7 on are 58% against the spread, and conference away favorites of 21 or more with a total under 49 have gone 59% against the spread and 67% from game number 7 on. One more thing I want to remind people. I actually prefer laying big point spreads on the road versus at home. The Buckeyes dress about 120 players. And when you're in a blowout, you are playing not only your 2nd string, your 3rd string, your 4th string. When you go on the road in a conference game, you are limited to 72 or 75 players. So that is basically your first 2 strings, some of your 3rd string, and your special teams players. So even if you're blowing out an opponent in the second half like Ohio State will, your 3rd string is playing against their 2nd string, a big edge for a team like Ohio State. I'm going to call this game 42-3. Buckeyes win and cover again. Only failed to cover 1 game on the year. They cover another one Saturday.
I agree 100%. I don't see how Purdue even. I don't see how Purdue scores. Their team total 7.5. I'm not taking the over on that Purdue team. I would be.
Yeah, I even saw a 9.5 at DraftKings. I thought about betting it. And I was pissed last week because on the Blitz with Brian and Ross, I said, I like Ohio State, Penn State team total under in the first half. So Penn State scores the first time down. I said, that was a quick bet. And then what do? They're pissed off and they shut them off the rest of the game. So it is what it is, but don't let one bad performance change you, because it truly wasn't a bad performance for Ohio State. It was just one guy broke a big play and then they had a short field and the other. That is not a defense that's getting walked over.
Yeah, if you guys are on DraftKings, we've been using the alt team total under for Ohio State opponents as a really good parlay piece. You can get Purdue at 11.5 at like minus 300 and throw it in a part. I use it as a parlay piece or something. But yeah, making money again, fading the Ohio State opponents is definitely a really, really good way to add some profits to the bankroll. All right, Ralph, before we let you go, let's go over some quick week 10 trends and angles. We're looking at bad teams as a favorite of 3 or more and good teams as a dog of 3 or more. Pretty good stats here to back up some of these trends, and we got a couple teams that this does actually affect this week. Walk us through this.
One thing I want to qualify, Andy, is this is from game 9 on. So if a team is 2-1 after 2 games, that doesn't mean they're a good team. But when you're 60% or better from game number 9 and later, or you're 40% or less from game number 9 or under, it's fair to say you're a poor performing team or you're a good team. So on the left-hand side of the chart, you see in the gray, these are teams that have a win percentage of 40% or less and are a favorite of 3 or more this week. Take a look at those home numbers, Andy. When you're at home and you're a favorite and you're a bad team, a lot of red, and since 2015, those teams are only 45%. But look at teams that are away favorites. Those teams have gone 69%. And if you take out game 9 later, remember this from week 11 on, take a look at all those positive records. That number will be about 75% if we look at teams from game number 11 and on. And that to me makes sense, because if you're a home favorite of 3, you are pick 'em against this opponent. If you are an away favorite of 3, you add in the home edge. And this team is actually 5 or 6 points better than the situation. So the home road dichotomy in that makes complete sense. To the right-hand chart, let's look at good teams, those with a win percentage of 60% or higher from game number 9 and later. Well, look at the home teams again, Andy. Only 45% against the spread since 2015. And those away teams, not quite as good. But if you're an away dog of 3 or more and you've won 60% of your games, you've gone 61 and 47, 57% against the spread. There is one team that applies to the dog roll. That's the 49ers. There is one team that applies to the away favorites role, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. And two teams are close. The Texans and the Browns currently aren't at that -3 level, but again, they could get there by Sunday. So this chart applies to San Fran and Baltimore and may apply to Houston and Cleveland. But it's so nice when you do a chart like this and it makes sense, and you have these home road dichotomies that can really show you a profit the last quarter of the NFL season.
Yeah, it's really good stuff, and it does make sense. The math kind of, like you said, when you're getting those 3 points from being home, it absolutely 100% makes sense. So, Ralph, you've gotten off to a good start in college basketball. Tell everyone what you have up on this Wednesday.
2-0 start college hoops. I have one college basketball 4%, my first of the season, loaded tonight. And college football just continues to shine. I cashed a 5% on Saturday. My college football 5%, now 11 and 2, 85%. I will have another one this week. And last year, I trailed only one person. It's the guy who follows me on the show, Ross the Boss in college football. But currently, the last 30 days, I'm on a 14-6 run and #1 at WagerTalk in college football. Weekend Warrior, the absolute way to go, $49. My 5% college football play will be $35 by itself. Why not get the rest of my Saturday college football, all of my Sunday NFL, and a Monday night NFL play if I have it? Weekend Warrior for me, you, Ross, or anyone at WagerTalk.
Ralph Michaels, great stuff. Great segment today, Ralph. The Pen, the Maryland East Shore, everything. Great job, Ralph Michaels, everyone. Really, really cooking in college football. And yes, that Weekend Warrior, probably the best way to go. $49. Gets Saturday, gets Sunday, gets Monday. And Ralph just told you it's going to have that 5% play that is up. I keep telling everyone, this was like we were going to run this 1 week. And then it's been like one of the most popular specials that we have. So let's just keep running.
There's times we have to listen, Andy, that the overwhelming response after week 1, the bigger response in week 2, it's growing every year. I don't think we could take it away the rest of the year. We may have a boycott on our hands.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ralph. Weekend Warrior for $49. Thank you very much to Ralph. All right, Chris, let's talk the NFL trades. Let's talk some NFL trades here. We had a slew of them yesterday. So let's go through and let me know in the chat what you guys liked. Was there a trade you guys didn't like? Was there a trade you did like? The biggest splash was obviously the Colts get Sauce Gardner. The Jets get 2 first-round picks and Mitchell. I'm not sure why Mitchell was in there. Probably something to do with the salary. But I know he was in the doghouse here in Indianapolis when he dropped the ball going into the end zone. Pretty expensive, but as a Colts fan, I don't know how I feel about it. That's really expensive, but they obviously really, really like this team, and I think they got a real chance in the AFC. I wouldn't call the Bills or Chiefs very dominant this year. So, listen, this is a Colts team that took a player out of New York, and he is flourishing. That's Daniel Jones. So I guess they're just saying, let's try and do it again. Cowboys get Quinnen Williams. Jets get 2026 second, 2027 first round picks. Jaguars went out and got Jacoby Myers. We've got Travis Hunter on IR. I'm not sure how bad that injury is, but the Jags obviously think they can do some damage going and trading for a wide receiver. Eagles going to try and resurrect Jair Alexander, who's been dealing with a lot of injuries recently. So Ravens gave up on Jair, and the Eagles go get him. Eagles also go get Jalen Phillips. Dolphins get a 3rd round pick. And the Seahawks go and get Rashid Shaheed. So all these guys all these teams are saying, hey, we think we can make some noise in the playoffs. So I would have to say I love that Rashid Shaheed trade for Seattle. Add another wide receiver alongside JSN, and that offense is now really, really dynamic. So Peasy doesn't like the sauce. All bark, no bite. Let's see. Oh, Andrew, the Colts are last year's Vikings, nothing more. Wow. Shots fired at the Indianapolis Colts. Man, I don't know. It didn't affect anything in the markets, by the way. Went and looked at the futures. Didn't affect anything. Nothing. Colts still 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. What are the Jags? You got to scroll down to Jags 70-1 to win the Super Bowl. Seahawks 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. So after all that, it really didn't affect anything in the markets. So we'll see how these trades work out. So Fortune says John Lynch and the Niners standing pat. They're not reaching and sacrificing the future. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. This Colts trade, that is a lot to give up, and you got to figure these picks are probably going to be in the 20s if the Colts, continue their success. So they're not like amazing first round picks, but could be an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, secondary, someone, a receiver, someone that comes in and delivers. Of course, you got to nail those picks. And let's be honest, the Jets haven't exactly been nailing these draft picks. So, all right, let's bring in Ross, the boss, and we got to talk some NBA. We got to talk some college football, and then we got to do this line. It makes no sense. Ross, happy Wednesday. How are you?
Good. How are you? And I agree with you. I think the best trade that was made was by Seattle, bringing in another quality wide receiver. The Jets trade, I think they gave up too much to get Sauce Gardner. And in terms of Indianapolis, buyer beware, because Daniel Jones is coming off. You said he's resurrected in Indy, and you would be correct if you look at his overall numbers. But last week, he reverted back to old form. 2 lost fumbles and 2 interceptions in their loss. So
we'll see. As a Colts fan, I'm nervous. That terrified me.
No, I mean, look, I'm a Bills fan, and they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and that's shocking to me. So
especially seeing that Shaheed was available for just a couple of late round picks. You would think Buffalo would have tried to bolster that wide receiving core. I mean, that
you would
like
think so. And he was, between him and Chris Olave, those were the rumors going around locally here that that's who they were after. But, can't question Brandon Beane. He's done a hell of a job as a general manager, and he must have had his reasons. Maybe the asking price was too high, and they don't have a lot of salary cap room either, Andy.
Interesting. You like I love your team. Your team's getting healthy at the right time. You got faith in them?
Well, I mean, look, healthy at the right time, I'm not so sure. The defensive line is banged up. Michael Hoyt was terrific in 2 games that he played, and he tore his Achilles last week and out for the year. And then Ed Oliver.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
That sucks.
Ed Oliver, with the torn bicep, he might not be back to the playoffs if at all. So on the defensive line, they're very inexperienced and very shallow. That concerns me, but they're pretty good at linebacker. Maxwell Harrison, the first-round pick out of Kentucky, finally came back off an injury 2 weeks ago, and he's played awfully well in the limited time he's played in the first 2 games.
I see our good friend Rob has jokes. Colts aren't going to the Super Bowl. Indiana Jones will be the Temple of Doom.
I don't love that.
Shout out to Rob. All right, let's talk a little NBA here. Let's go to the Spurs and the Lakers. Boy, this Spurs team, man, boy, are they a lot of fun to watch. Wemby is just must-see TV. And then you got the Lakers. Austin Reeves has just turned into, I don't know, he's not a superstar yet, but boy, he keeps playing like this. He's going to be looking real good. I love that LaRavia guy that the Lakers have off the bench. This is going to be a good game. I'm staying up to watch this one. Lakers -2.5, over under at 227.5. Russ, what's your breakdown on this game?
Yeah, I'm finding 228s out there too. So I'm going to look at the total here. Look, San Antonio off to a great start, 5-1, coming off their first loss of the season. Poor defensive effort, which was rare in their first 6 games in their previous game. Look for them to bounce back on that side of the floor tonight. This is a team that's number 4 in scoring defense in the NBA, giving up just 108 points per game. Number 2 in defensive efficiency. They've allowed 107 points or fewer in 4 of 6 games this year. They're number 26 in 3-point attempts. and they only make 10 per game. So this isn't a team that lights it up from beyond the arc. And also 4-1 to the under this year when the total is 232.5 or less, which it is tonight. Offensively, this team doesn't get to the free throw line. Well, they do get to the free throw line a lot, but they're not very good when they get there. They're only 73.8% from the free throw line, which is terrible by NBA standards. And then you look at the pace of both of these teams and how they play. San Antonio, number 26 in pace, and the LA Lakers, number 23. So neither one of these teams likes to get up and down the floor, and they play at a slower tempo by NBA standards, and it shows in their field goal attempts. Now, the Lakers' field goal attempts per game is 82. That's last in the league, but that's a bit deceiving because they're shooting 52% from the floor. However, that's still a low number, and San Antonio is just 85 per game. That's number 27 in the league. And when it comes to free throws allowed, San Antonio is number 6, and the Lakers are number 7 in the least amount of free throws allowed per game this year. I'm going to go San Antonio and the Lakers under 228.
All right. Under 228. I like it. Have you watched much of Wemby? Have you watched much of it?
Bits and pieces, I really haven't sat down and watched San Antonio for an entire game, but I saw him a lot last year. The kid is terrific, no doubt about it. He's a rare talent with size and everything he could do, athleticism.
That team's really good. I like that Spurs team a lot. They're real dangerous if they mature. So, all right, let's talk a little Syracuse and Miami. We got Miami minus 28.5, over under 45.5. So the books are telling us this is a Syracuse team that probably is not going to score a whole lot. How do you break this one down?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. And this isn't a game I'm going to use on my premium card, folks. I'll say that right up front. But being close to the Syracuse situation, I'm fully aware of what's going on there. And I think I got a pretty good handle on this game. Look, Syracuse started the year 3-1. In their fourth game, they upset Clemson at Clemson, and Steve Angeli went down in the second half of that game with a season-ending injury. Steve Angeli, by the way, was leading the nation in passing at that time. In comes back up Ricky Collins, a transfer from LSU, and he starts the next 4 games, and he was brutal. Brutal to the point where last week they opted to go with 2 freshman quarterbacks, and they went a combined 6 for 21. 28.6% passing last week. Syracuse, since that Clemson game, has gone 0-5. And during this 5-game losing streak, Andy, goes hand in hand to what you just said at the top here. Syracuse has only averaged 12 points per game, 288.6 yards per contest, and 11 turnovers during this 11 turnovers committed during this 5-game losing streak. And they reached a low point last week in a 27-10 home loss to North Carolina. That's a North Carolina team that had no wins against FBS opponents this year. If I remember right, maybe one in non-conference play. I know they were winless in the ACC, and they showed no signs of life offensively throughout this season. But last Friday, the Tar Heels were able to put up 425 yards against Syracuse and hold the Orange to 147. So they were not only lose that game in a game that was pretty much a pick-em matchup, but they were outgained in that game by over 200 yards and dominated. Miami's going to be in a sour mood, Andy, coming up that 26-20 overtime upset loss at SMU last week. Since 2024, Miami, 3 games when coming off a loss, they've scored 41 points or more in each of those contests. And I think they could approach that number here based on everything I just said. And also, since 2023, the Hurricanes have been a favorite of 23-31. 3 separate times. They went 3-0 straight up in ATS in those games, won by 32.7 points per game, and allowed a combined 28 points. Not good news for Syracuse with their offensive struggle. And lastly, and this is the real kicker here, this is a Miami team that's going to be playing with big-time revenge. And if they could rub it in against Syracuse and blow them out, they're going to take the opportunity to do so. And right now, they're in desperate need of style points. Last year in the regular season finale at Syracuse, they went up in that game 21-0 in the first half, ended up blowing the game, losing 42-38, and ultimately that loss cost them a spot in the college football playoffs. Give me Miami here minus 28.5 over Syracuse.
All right, Ross, expecting a blowout in Miami versus Syracuse. Ross, we're going to do this line makes no sense. But first off, tell everyone what you have up at WagerTalk.
Yeah, again, I don't have anything up right now. I will have 3 to 5 plays on Saturday in college football, including the 5% best bet. By the way, I'm 7-2 at 5% best bets in college football this year. 26-14 on the season in college football, 65%. Number one in win percentage, number one in return on investment, and number two in units earned. And in college football, folks, since September of 2023, up 121 units. In my NBA, which I will have an NBA pick or picks up within the next hour. NBA 6-2 start to the season, Andy, and dating back to last year, 20-7 run in the NBA.
Nice. Well done in NBA college football. That's impressive. Plus 121.7 units since 2023. Excellent job. All right. Let's go over this line makes no sense. You've been lights out with these. One of my favorite segments of the week. Which line makes no sense?
Yeah, I was really hard pressed to come up with something. I'll be honest with you, Andy, but the one that probably sticks out the most, you have number 8 BYU 9-0 at number 9 Texas Tech 8-1. Texas Tech right now is a 10-point favorite. Wow, this jumped right out at me. You got a lower ranked one-loss team in Texas Tech as a double-digit favorite versus an undefeated higher ranked team in BYU. And BYU, by the way, they're coming off a bye week where Texas Tech played last week. So even more puzzling. This Tech would be a 3 to 4 point favorite based on the odds makers' current line at BYU as a lower ranked team, as a one-loss team against an undefeated foe, which probably speaks a lot to strength of schedule to this point. And look, if it looks too good in sports betting, more times than not it is, and this seems to be a textbook example of such. I'm just going to say buyer beware of taking the undefeated double-digit dog in this spot. It looks very inviting and enticing, but look a little deeper into the numbers before you make a play on this game.
All right. Being careful with that BYU Texas Tech. Ross, thank you so much for joining us every week. Ross Benjamin, absolutely crushing in college football. Congratulations, man. That is a hell of a run you're on. So Ross, the boss, Benjamin, bringing the heat every single Wednesday. Can't wait to see you next week. Ross, have a great week, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and you as well, Andy.
All right. Ross Benjamin. First off, guys, thank you for getting the $5 NBA play. We hit it yesterday. Wasn't easy. It wasn't dominant, but we get there. We had Jalen Suggs over 5.5 rebounds plus assists. He gets in foul trouble. He gets teed up. All signs are pointing to him not getting there. He gets there late, and that's a 12-3 start to the NBA season. And our special is still up. Guys, I've been telling you for the very beginning of the season, props is how you build a bankroll. We're running that special 7 days of NBA and NHL props for only $69. We've got 3 plays that are up, and we're going to continue crushing, man. These NBA props are absolutely dynamite. We've really hit our stride. So please partner up. We can build your bankroll up with these NBA props. They've been absolutely phenomenal. So let's go over a couple of props with all around the world. And we're going right back to it. Kelly Oubre over 1.5 threes. I'm going to be a little cautious with this one, though. He went over again last night, and he's hit this every single game this season. I'm a little worried. He only had 4 attempts last night, and this streak is now 7 games in a row. All of these streaks come to an end at some point. We've made really good money off of this prop, but only 4 attempts, and he's still shooting over 40%. But if he's only getting 4 or 5 attempts, this is going to regress down a little bit. So we're going to keep playing it until the streak is over, but I'm going to tread a little bit lightly. Brian Leonard has a free play in the Blue Jackets and the Flames. He likes the Blue Jackets here at even money. Flames have dropped 11 of 13 games, outscored by 17 goals on the season. First game back home after a 4-game road trip. This is a typical fade spot. Calgary is currently the betting favorite, and Brian does not buy it. This is the only game the Blue Jackets play in a 5-day span, coming in off of a loss. So Brian Leonard likes the Blue Jackets on the money line. We'll do a quick play here in Thursday Night Football. Bo Nix over 1.5 passing touchdowns. This is a streak that is going on for 3 straight games, and he's gone over in both games against the Raiders. This is a pretty good price. I believe it's only -120, -125. So wanted to get this one out with you guys. So Bo Nix over 1.5 passing touchdowns. We're going to break down Knicks and Timberwolves, guys. Please hit the like button. If you're enjoying the content, hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. My gosh, do we have so many breakdown videos now with college basketball in full swing. We've got NBA breakdown videos. You get notified when all of our videos go live, when all of these breakdown videos get up. So make sure you subscribe. Over 250,000 people have subscribed to the channel. So we must be doing something right. Must be doing something right here. So, all right. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We're going to break down the Timberwolves and the Knicks. Knicks are -3.5. Over under sits at 227.5. Big story here is Anthony Edwards. He practiced on Tuesday with the hamstring injury and was upgraded from out to questionable. That's a really good sign. I am going to assume at the time of recording this that he is going to play. The Knicks have won 2 straight games at home to the Bulls and the Wizards. They have 7 straight home games. They do not go on the road till November 19th. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves, kind of the opposite. They've won their last 2 on the road by big margin, but they were playing the Hornets and the Nets. Wolves are 5th in offensive efficiency. Knicks are 13th. Both teams neck and neck with defensive efficiency with 16th and 18th. Interesting stats here. The Timberwolves, 0-4 first half spread on the road this season. Knicks are 3-1 first half spread at home this season. Wolves last game on a mini 3-game road trip. I'm going to take the Knicks -1.5 in the first half to cover at home. This is a trend that I just can't ignore. Wolves have yet to cover a first half spread on the road. And if you're looking at player props, I know Anthony Edwards is back. A prop that we've been hitting is Naz Reid over 1.5 threes. You're probably going to get a good price if Edwards is here, but Naz Reid comes off the bench and is still shooting well below his career average. We expect that to regress up. He's hit this his last couple games. So we're looking at Knicks -1.5 in the first half and Naz Reid to go over 1.5 threes. NBA best bet is up 12-3 to start the season, coming off a 1-0 night on $5 Tuesday. So grab that. I've attached a couple of other best bets to that package tonight as well. You get 3 NBA plays. One of them is a really nice plus money play that I absolutely love. We're going to be playing that for the next week or so. And I also attached an NHL play to that one as well. All right, thanks, guys, for joining us. Great show on Wednesday. We're gearing up for Thursday. And don't forget, football Friday, every Friday. It's probably our best show of the week because we just get you ready for the weekend with all the college football and NFL. But make sure you're here tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Appreciate all you guys for watching and hitting that like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like on tonight's card. College basketball, college football, NFL, NBA. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. I always love reading those comments. Thanks very much, guys. Good luck on your bets tonight. Take care.